when I was about 4 years old. My father had taught me a series of numbers. I don't remember them now. Something like 627, 1,200 something, and a third number. And what he would do is take me into the store, sitting on his shoulders. And if the butcher or whatever kind of store it was would say, "Oh, cute kid," my dad would say, and he's smart too, "What's 50 plus this plus this?" And I'd say, 187. And then he'd say, "Well, what's the square root of something?" I'd give the answer. And they'd be like, then they'd catch on the third one, was impossibly. But I noticed that they laughed. And my father said, that's because they have a good sense of humor. And I thought, what is that, And he told me that, some people find funniness in a lot of things, and some people are just average, and some people don't find. But anyone who laughs has a good sense of humor. He said, and you have. He told me, I have one. And I thought, well, that's a good thing. Then, in first grade in Socorro, what's it called when it's at church school? Parochial, where some of my best, first grade I was there. And the 8th graders were giving a chorus concert. And thought it'd be fun to have a first grader conduct. So I had to get like a little tuxedo jacket and cut off pants. And I didn't want to. See, I was scared of a crowd. And my mother said, I'll give you a quarter. Well, that was 1940-something, so a quarter was big stuff to a little kid. And I was really nervous before I went on. When I went on and acted very formal and took a little bit of a bow, I got laughs. And I thought, I know what to do here. I know what to do. So I hammed it up, directing, over-directing the chorus, right? And then at the end, instead of just bowing once like that, I bowed once with that and then switched hands and bowed again and did like, please, please, no. And got screams. And I said, I got to do this. I've got to do this. I've got to find a way to do this. There was a station here in town, KGRT. It still exists. It was one of two, back in the days of AM only. And in the afternoon, they had a remote with a little remote unit, and they'd go to different businesses and say, hey, come on down. We have free this, it's free that. Standard radio remote. And my friends knew I did impressions of famous people. And they said, let's go down there and you can do those. And I thought, boy, that would be a neat thing. So we got over to the Shamrock Drive-In, I think it was called. And the announcer stuck the mic in the window and said, well, who do we have in this car? And the driver said, well, we have Ed Sullivan, we have Jackie Gleason, we have... And he says, really, where's Ed? So I went into my Ed Sullivan, and they said, we could use some of those voices in our commercials. And so they had me do types, like a gangster. That's right, got a New York accent, that thing. And then I asked if I could get my own show. And they gave me a 1 hour on a Saturday afternoon. And it was promoted heavily. And I thought, these poor souls, they're listening to all this rock and roll stuff, and I myself love jazz, and therefore it must be better. So I did my stuff and played my jazz that I liked. And to the person, the response was, well, you're funny and everything, but what are you playing? What is that music? And I thought, how can they not like that? Well, what do you want? And they said, oh, Elvis Presley, Fats Domino. And it's like, really? I just thought they hadn't heard you. See, I learned something at age 16 that most general managers, or many general managers, don't know now. What they personally like has nothing to do with what should go on the air. Not if you want ratings. Not if you want to earn a living. So, the following Saturday, I went to the retail record store to find out what was selling. I mixed it kind of with the Billboard magazine, and I played like pure concentrated rock and roll. And I destroyed every song. I said horrible things about the artists, just with little tapes and things. And I thought it's going to upset them. But it didn't. And they said, now that is a show. That's a show. Now you got it. You got it. This would be like 1959. And I got an offer from one of the only 3 all-music stations, or top 40 is what it became in the country, which was KELP 920 AM. And they put me on midnight to 6 when there's really nobody listening. I mean, not many sets in use. But I was terrified because I thought, I felt like I was on network radio, and I was alone in the control room. Hadn't really learned the board very well, the controls, and scared to death. But I did my little stuff, my little tracks and tapes and stuff like that. And I started getting calls. Positive from the audience. And they said, by the way, Crosno, it's Bowie High, not Bowie High. So I had a tape that said something like, I had mispronounced the name of the school. And some guy on tape said, that's because you're a moron or something, My favorite interview never got on the air. It was when I met James Brown. And I asked him, instead of saying, oh, Mr. Brown, I think you're the greatest performer, yada, yada, which, of course, he is. And I asked him, what do you think? Not hello, how are you? Nothing. In his dressing room after the show. And I said, what do you think happens to our souls or our spirits after the body dies? And there was a lady there serving us some orange crush from a big tub. And he said, Miss Johnson, I believe I'd like to speak to this young man alone for a few minutes. That launched a 2.5-hour conversation in which we laughed and cried. It's like kindred soul. Instant friends. And he's helped me out a lot. Now, he keeps crediting me, which I played his songs because they're popular. I'd be a fool not to. But I think he has well, you're not going to be able to fit this in here, but Channel 7 has a tape, I haven't done, where the 2 of us are being interviewed, and I'll ask him a question, and he'll say, I think you better ask Brother Steve, he knows a lot more. He's so generous with his fame, see, and with his magnetism. He gives it to other people. And he's such a good guy, basically good guy, and a superstar, but not affected at all. I know Dick Clark a little bit. We talked on the phone a lot because there was a national contest, and at that time I was working for the ABC affiliate, and we sent some couples to his show, so there was a lot of promotion where he and I would talk on my show and on some other shows. And he has a good sense of humor. He's not pretentious. He doesn't think he's hot stuff. American Bandstand, to me, seems to be a sort of a sanitized version of my show or something. It had some of the guts taken out of it, because my show was live, theirs was pre-recorded. And anything could happen. And I let it. I even encouraged it. And the crowd that came to my show was much more likely to be interesting, I think, than those kids I saw on Bandstand. It was like better behaved with Dick Clark's kids, or in a way, but they're also like less fun. My crowd was fun because they'd kid me back. I'd say something and they'd yell back, and I like that because you only do that with friends. So. But it did well, and it was on for a long time, so you have to give it credit. Besides Dick Clark, one time I made him laugh real hard. So, that's all you have to do to get me to like is laugh at some stupid joke. And oh, my friend. He had called me during this really major windstorm that was national news. And we were live on the air, but he was on the phone, right? And he said, hey, I understand you guys have some winds, heavy winds out there or something. I said, yeah, I just saw, I think it was a piece of Phoenix fly over. And that's not that funny. But Clark, just, Roth was the kind of guy that this was his humor. And one of the ones he'd say, I would say he was like major guy. I mean, he gave me a major break, and he was a cool guy. And one time after I'd been on the station, like I was program director for years and years, and the Arbitrons, that's a rating book. We live and die by those. And he called me back to his office with a very serious look. And he says, I want you in my office, and I want you in my office now. I thought, geez, what did I do? So I stuck a part-timer on the air, and I went in and sat across his desk, and he threw that Arbitron down in front of me, and he said, I want you to explain that. And I thought, we must have plunged. I'm doomed. I'm finished. It's over. And so I kept saying, okay, 3 to 7, KELP, 3 to 7. And I said, I keep getting a reading of 43. He said, yeah, it's the highest you've ever gotten. I just wondered if you could explain it. I said, with a heart attack, who would you put on? Because that's what you just about gave me. And I love people who will tease me like that. Gene Roth, one of my heroes. The first time I went to the Gila was with my parents. There's a place there, sort of a lookout point. And I said, oh, we've been here before. And they said, no, we haven't. I said, yeah, we have. The cliff dwellings are over there. There are 2 streams that come together right over there. And my father said, well, where are the roads? And I said, I have no idea. Then my mother said, it was getting late. And my mother said, we better go home. And I said, home? Like, what do you think this is? It was a reflex. And there's something, it's like, you always come back charged up. It's like, it is an energy field, Captain. It's live, Jim, but not as we know it. The Gila, to me, is a magical place, just like Sharma is a magical dog. It seems natural to be there. It also seems like I always wanted to just wear cutoffs. I don't, other clothing feels unnatural in the Gila, in the summer. And I figure, well, that must have been the way I dressed in my previous life. I'm not sure. I'll check for Sharma. She knows all these things. I think maybe you have to reach a certain age before you can really appreciate what a pet can do. I suppose, I see these fanatic people on the Animal Channel, which is Sharma's favorite, talking about how much they care about their pets and stuff like that. But my bond with Sharma, I think, is rare. She's like the logical part of me. If there's something going on that's troubling me, or in other words, something I can't fix, and instead of planning a way to fix it, I'm sort of worrying, she'll come over and she'll say, oh, are we gonna pout? I don't know. Dogs are magical. If you'll give them the chance, they will make the best partner in your life. Memories like the corners of my mind. Misty water cup. Oh, what would I be if I were a plant? I would like to have deep roots. I would like to live in the Gila. And a pine tree maybe. I never thought about that. And you know why? It's a stupid question. But no, I never thought of being a plant. Although Sharma tells me I have an IQ of room temperature, so I'm right next to it. No, I have no idea about what I'd be. Maybe like a sagebrush on the desert, just so I could be on the desert, and I don't have to become a sagebrush to go there. So I don't know what I'm saying. The sun's cooking my brains with this thing on. The classic comedy bit done by Shelley Berman, whom I met and is a good guy. It's called The Perfect Neurosis, and it's yes, hello, Dr. Dickey. You remember me, the man that was afraid of fear itself? Well, I'm much better about that. I don't even carry my little security blanket with me, and I don't fly into a rage if my shoelaces are different lengths. But there's been something that's been happening, and it's what is that when you can't, I've been getting very what is that when you can't remember? Oh, forgetful, and it seems to have something to do with the word porcupine. Who am I speaking to, please? Oh, Dr. Dickey, that's funny. I was about to call you. And it goes on and on. But that's the best part. You've heard things like fame, the most addicting drug, and things like that. Well, it's very addictive to be able to make people laugh. It's such a gift. And part of my philosophy or insight is that it is in giving. That's the joy. I asked her once, I said, you know I love you very, very much. And you kind of like me too, don't you? And she went, yeah. That's as far as she'll commit. And then one night, I had to come downstairs, and I don't remember for what. And so I crawled over to her basket, and I said, I don't want to come on too strong, but I got to tell you, I honestly believe if you didn't live with me, I wouldn't be alive now. And that doggie took a broken beer bottle from her purse, which she keeps right in there. It's got Velcro. She won't tell me where it is. And carved the word melodramatic in my forehead. Which I was pretty impressed, but I was really impressed when I went on into the bathroom, looked in the mirror. She had carved it backwards so I could read it. Now that is a special dog right there. See, that's the difference.